Honored to have my guest on today, Kyle Harrison. Let's bring a friend of mine in, Pat Burrow. Pat, how are you today?
Bill, I'm doing great, man. Glad to be on with you.
Giants fans, this is Extra Innings with Bill Lasky.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On your exclusive home of the San Francisco Giants. KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
Should Bailey reach, it would be wisely 1-1. That's the score here in the fourth. And the pitch. And Bailey! High drive! Right field. It is out of here! Way over the bullpens and right. And the Giants take the lead. Bailey getting both cheeks into that one.
All right, welcome into the KNBR studios. And as you heard John and Dwayne say, in Scottsdale Stadium today, 8,196 fans saw the San Francisco Giants win their second game of the Cactus League 5-2. Welcome into Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Bill Lasky as we start breaking down this team and breaking down the first two games. And I think JP Martinez as well as Garvin Alston are going to be pretty happy when they look at the line score of these pitchers in the first two games. 14 pitchers have thrown, 10 hits only. They've only given up 2 walks and 20 strikeouts. That's right, 2 walks and 20 strikeouts with 14 pitchers throwing, and they've only given up 3 earned runs. So a real good start with the San Francisco Giants pitchers. And today, of course, the ace went out there, Logan Webb, and he performed extremely well. He went 2 innings, no hits, no walks, 1 strikeout. The only thing I would think that Logan would be a little upset at, he got behind 3 hitters, 2-0, 3-1, but he bounced back and he got a nice ground ball out, a pop out, and his control was right on right after that. But a nice 2-inning stint, 29 pitches, a little bit more than what you really want to see, but for his first outing in front of the home team, I thought he did extremely well. Hayden Birdsong followed that up, and here's Birdsong, a 23-year-old, trying to break into the starting rotation, and he threw 2 innings and, of course, giving up 2 hits, 1 run on a balk, but he ended up punching out the side his second inning after he balked the run in. A ball that was hit in the gap, it was misplayed, and the player had ended up getting a triple, and Birdsong faked it to third, and it was a balk, and he knew about it. As Dwayne said, pumping his chest. And these are things that you manage to work out and things that happen in spring training. And John said it best, let it happen here and not during the regular season. Birdsong's one of those guys that are learning to pitch at the major league level. He's got outstanding stuff, and today he put it on fire in that last inning. After the run scored, as I said, punched out 3 in a row. Camilo Duvall came back with a nice 1-2-3 inning. Some sharp sliders, and we've seen Camilo last year walk too many hitters, and he went out and threw strike after strike, punched out the first hitter, got a pop-up to right field and a ground ball to end the inning. Sean Jelly most likely will be in that middle part of the bullpen, and he really pitched well. He had a knuckle curveball working today. He ended up punching out the side, 1 on a call, strike 3 in the first hitter, then he punched out the next 2, and when you look at the top 4 pitchers, they really threw the ball well, getting strike after strike. And this is what JP Martinez is talking about. Talked to Tyler Rogers yesterday. He was talking about the 0-1 being so important coming out of the bullpen, as well as the starting staff. Today, a little bit behind on Logan Webb, 2-0, but him coming back with a nice changeup. The slider was sharp. And those are the kind of pitches that you're working on in spring training. Most of the time, sliders and curveballs are difficult to throw in the dry weather of Arizona, but they were sharp today. And as I said, the pitching staff really threw the ball well after that. Mercedes, Del Poza, 2 guys that are trying to fit in on the 40-man roster, and they're trying to get that inning. Of course, Del Poza, 32-year-old lefty Miguel, pitched a little bit in the big leagues, and with Miller on the rack right now, he's on the, kind of watching. He's got a little finger issue. There's going to be a lot of left-handers trying to get the eye of Bob Melvin as well as J.P. Martinez on the left-hand side. Bob Melvin earlier in the week this week was talking about maybe Eric Miller being the only left-hander in the bullpen. He feels that some right-handers have enough stuff to get left-handers out. as we know, that Taylor Rogers got traded over to the Cincinnati Reds, and that eliminated a lefty, and that was 2 lefties in there last year. Eric Miller now only being the 1 left-hander. A couple mild injuries they talked about today. Elliot Ramos with a possible oblique strain. They've put him on pretty much watch and see, take a rest. He's too important to play in these early part of games in spring training. Oblique muscles, as we all know, can linger on from 4 to 6 weeks, and it's better to get in front of it and give him some ample rest. Also, like I said, Eric Miller has some finger numbness, most likely from breaking balls and different things that you threw, but he is in great shape. And Tyler Fitzgerald back, he'll be playing this week. He had a mild back strain, but those 3 are really your common players that everybody knows about and will be watching as the spring training continues. A home run today by Patrick Bailey. Boy, he mashed that one, a 2-1 fastball right down the middle. He hit it out to right field. The only home run ball that was hit today, of course, 3 of them were hit yesterday. San Francisco Giants hit Sam Huff, Bryce Eldridge, and Grant McCray. 4 home runs in 2 games. They are hitting the ball very well. Yesterday, they ended up getting 11 hits. Today, they ended up getting 13 hits. A lot of players only getting 1 hit. Willie Adames got in there today, had a nice at-bat, his first inning. Had an 0-2 pitch, got the ball up, singled out to left field. That had to feel good for Willie as he signed a huge contract over the winter, and he will be with the Giants for the next 7 years, $182 million. And he's happy to be in that orange and black. Juan Encarnacion had a nice double earlier in the game, and he ended up getting an RBI. Yaz ended up getting a sac fly in the 3rd inning. He ended up leading off the 6th inning with an opposite field double. A couple mainstays trying to see what they can do in the middle of the order. Yaz goes 1 for 2 with an RBI. Encarnacion goes 1 for 3 with an RBI. Looking at my book right here, it looks like the home run by Bailey was hit in the 4th inning for a solo RBI, and then Meckler pinch hitting in that 6th inning with 1st and 2nd, and he ended up getting an RBI also. So 4 RBIs on the day: Yaz, Encarnacion, Bailey, and Meckler. But a good all-around game, a quick game once again, a little over 2 hours, and the Giants in front of their home team really started off nicely. Logan Webb, as I said, at first 2 innings, 2 zeros on the board, and the Giants win 5-2, and now they are 2-0 on this Cactus season. Well, tomorrow's a split squad, and we're going to finally see Justin Verlander on the hill. He is going to pitch at home against the Rockies. Justin Verlander, of course, coming over on a 1-year contract at $15 million. He'll be on the hill tomorrow in Scottsdale. Ryan Walker will follow him, and then Randy Rodriguez will get on the mound for the Giants. The Giants, the split squad. The other team will be going over to the Angels in Tempe. Mason Black gets to start there. Carson Seymour also is going to get a good look. Trevor McDonald will be also on the slate for pitching. The next KNBR broadcast will be Tuesday. John and Dwayne will be doing that, and they will be going over to Mesa to play the Sacramento A's. Robbie Ray will get the start in that one. Keaton Wynn, Tristan Beck, Joel Peguero also following them. On Wednesday, Jordan Hicks gets to start, so we're getting the starters in these games, getting 2, maybe 3 innings in. But today, when you look at what Logan Webb did and how he's managing to get that March 27 start in Cincinnati, the opener for the 2025 Giants season, a good outing by Logan Webb, going 29 pitches, 2 innings, only striking out 1 with no hits. When you look at what Logan Webb's done in the past few years, especially last year when you look at it, he's going to get his start. He'll be the fourth time he will be getting the starting nod for opening day. Juan Marichal, Timmy Lincecum, and Madison Bumgarner also did it 4 times. Of course, Juan Marichal did it 6 times, but it is an honor for a starting pitcher to get that start, and Logan Webb's definitely the ace of the staff. Last year, of course, if you remember, he went 204 innings, 2/3, 13-10 overall, a 3.4 earned run average, and he made his first National National League All-Star team, 172 strikeouts in 204 and 2/3 innings, 50 walks, 3 of those were intentional. I really believe that JP Martinez is trying to get these guys to get that 0-1 first pitch. It really makes everything else in their arsenal work off that. And, of course, Hayden Birdsong's another one that had a lot of walks last year. When you look at what he did, 72 innings, 88 punchies, but 43 walks. These things cannot continue if you're going to try to stay in the major leagues like Birdsong's trying to do. He's got to be aggressive. Today he had no walks, and that was a key for him. All right, we're going to take a quick break. 808 KNBR if you want to get on the phone lines. Let's talk some Giants baseball. Later in the show, I got to sit down with Alex Berg. That's right, Alex Berg. He's the catching coach. Started out in a bullpen, signed with the Giants in 2009 as a 24th rounder. He's been with the Giants for 4 years now. Went to Washington State and Clemson. Real nice conversation with Alex about the catching position, about what Patrick Bailey does for the battery of the pitchers, how much knowledge he puts into it. We'll talk about the one-leg catching stance, framing, and all different parts of the catching position, and Alex Berg breaks that down. Then I sit down with a good friend of mine, an ex-teammate. 17 years he played in the major leagues. He also played with the Giants in 1982. As I said, he was a teammate. Reggie Smith joins me, and we'll talk about spring training. He was a great hitting coach for many years after he retired, but we're going to talk about how he managed to play 13 years in the outfield, and he was a Gold Glove outfielder, and then he also had to move to play first base toward the end of his career, and we're going to find out the difficulties and some of the things that he adjusted to as Bryce Eldridge is trying to learn how to play first base. So a great conversation with Reggie Smith down the road. All right, this is Bill Lasky. This is Extra Innings. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
You're listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Lasky.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
3-2 pitch. Strike three call to the outside corner. I had to wait. Emil Jimenez is the big, I'm going to call this guy out, and it's going to take some time, guys.
Well, he was watching the Giants walk off the field. I think he felt like maybe it's a good idea. I call this baby a strike.
All right, welcome back to the Extra Inning Post-Game Show in the KNBR studios here in San Francisco. My name's Bill Lasky. That was the first strikeout that Logan Webb had, ending the first inning, a call strike three. And when the players are running off the field and the umpire still doesn't call it, it's pretty embarrassing when the home plate umpire looks up and everybody knows it's strike three. So I guess Dwayne was right. Strike three, and he got out of the inning. But Logan Webb went 2 innings hitless, of course. 2 innings, no hits, no walks, 1 strikeout. I'm going to keep throwing that out there to you. He is the ace of the staff this year, 2025 as he was last year, all moving up to that date of March 27th against the same team he threw against today, the Cincinnati Reds. The Giants came out with the numbers for the camps today. 61 players in Major League Camp, 35 pitchers, 15 of them non-rosters. That's a 40-man roster, so there's 15 of them that are not on that 40-man roster. 5 catchers, 2 of them are non-rosters. 13 infielders, 4 non-rosters there. And this is what I want to bring up today. 8 outfielders, all of them on the roster. When you start looking at what Buster Posey did, he did not add any to the outfield. Looking at some of the young players, of course, Yastrzemski, Jung-Hoo Lee, Ramos most likely will be your 3 starters. Then you have Matos, McRae, Meckler, Luciano, and Encarnacion. And really the big surprise here is they are now putting Luciano out there in the outfield, no more infield for him. And that's where he signed when he was 17 years old as an outfielder. And they try to push him into that infield position at shortstop, second base, and it just didn't work. So here's a guy that can really rope and really rakes the ball, got a nice base hit today, hit one really hard like yesterday that got caught, and we're going to see how that moves forward with him playing left field. But those are the 8 outfielders. Asking you fans, do you think Buster kind of missed out on an outfielder? Is there a possible way that he could have added a free agent or a vet? These 8 guys are what we're going to see this year in the outfield, and do you think this is enough depth for the San Francisco Giants? So I'll throw that out to you. 808 KNBR, got a few calls coming in right now. Let's get to Gavin. He wants to talk about the hitting, and so far the hitting's been pretty well with 4 home runs. Gavin, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well, Bill. Honored to speak with you. I've always enjoyed your commentary and discussions with other callers. So it's, like I said,
pleasure to pick up the call and give me a call today. And, you know, I threw that out there a minute ago, Gavin, about the outfield. Do you think the Giants have enough depth? Do you think they have enough power in that outfield position this year?
You know, I'm really not sure about that. I haven't really done a lot of investigating in that regards. I'm real happy with all the hitting we've had with numerous players, not just, you know, Bryce Harper's home run yesterday was awesome. I obviously heard it on the radio, but, you know.
Well, you said Bryce Harper. You said Bryce Harper's Bryce Eldridge, yeah. But he says his swing is after Bryce Harper. So, you know what? Even though, I tell you what, it's a pretty swing. He got a nice base hit to left field today. All eyes are on his offensive numbers, and boy, he hit one nice over 450 feet yesterday in surprise. And Gavin, that has to get all Giants fans excited.
Absolutely, and you know, the beginning of the year, I'm always you know, excited to you know, what's upcoming. But this year is kind of bittersweet. I lost my Giants buddy. We went to the parade in 2012. We called each other every game, both Dodger haters. And so I just want to give out a shout out to my buddy Scotty, who passed away last year.
He's in heaven with his orange and black on, no doubt about that, Gavin.
Oh my gosh, everything was orange and black. His FJ Cruiser was orange, every custom orange, everything. He lived orange, orange and black. So, but yeah, getting back to I'm just looking forward to, you know, what I call the Posey effect. you know, him coming in, changing the mindset. Gosh, he was a prolific hitter and probably the best catcher in the leagues ever. So I think that mindset's going to carry around the locker room and hopefully change this season.
I agree with you. He was that hidden gem in every clubhouse he was in. It really wasn't a big speaker, but when he did get up and speak, everybody listened. He was that quiet leader that brought confidence in that clubhouse, and it's definitely bringing confidence in the front office. And, you know, sure, he didn't go out and spend big money. He got a couple add-ons. I really believe Willie Adames is a huge, huge plus for him. Once he saw the shortstop position, Adames was probably the best shortstop out there. Kim down in San Diego was injured. You would have had to wait a few months. He put the money out there, and Adames is now in the orange and black, and I can't wait to see him and Chapman on the left-hand side for numerous games in a 162-game season.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just locking up that side of the infield and, hopefully getting some synergy and playing well together and, keep the errors to a minimum.
Let me ask you, Gavin, what do you think of first base? You know, everybody's talking about Wade Jr. and Flores. Do you think that's strong enough at first base? Do you think there's a possibility of a move, or do you think Buster Posey as well as Bob Melvin's pretty happy with that?
Well, I mean, they're going to play him, but, how long has it been since we've had a strong first baseman? Just playing first. So, I mean, it's, they kind of plug and play and see who fits, and we're hoping for the best, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think both of them are healthy. Both of them had injuries last year. Of course, Flores had a knee injury. He feels strong. He played first base today. Wade Jr. DH'd yesterday, and of course everybody's looking at what Bryce Eldridge is going to do at first base. JT Snow's down there. He got down there yesterday. I was texting with him last night. Very excited to see what he can do to build a confidence of Bryce to play first base, and we'll just see, because it's a difficult position to move from outfield to first base. I have Reggie Smith on later in the show. He really talks about some of the things that he has to adjust to, and really good information from Reggie on what are the things that Bryce has got to learn, and those things are going to come quick at him at the big league level.
Absolutely. Being that big, tall frame, that should help, and hopefully Posey can give him some pointers, and he played a lot of first base when he wasn't catching.
Very good. Very good point there. Well, Gavin, thanks for the call today. Great conversation, and I appreciate it. You know what? We'll talk as the season continues, no doubt.
I hope so again. Thanks again, Bill.
Yep, that was Gavin. And good points about the hitting side. I really believe the first two games, getting out there, making a lot of contact. Of course, today they had 10 strikeouts. Yesterday they had 8. Those strikeouts numbers, there's no question about it. When you look at Pat Burrell and now Damon Minor's up there, the contact is what they're looking for. And the more they get out there, the more contact they get. Putting the ball in play is going to get runners moving. And I think this is one thing that Bob Melvin wants to improve on: stolen bases, hit and runs, guys moving from first and third to get the scoring opportunities to keep that line moving and to score more runs. Of course, that's what the Giants are going to really have to put on the board this year, get some early runs and add on to it. All right, let's go out to Rick in Hayward. Rick, you're on Extra Inning Postgame Show. I talked about the 8 outfielders. What do you think? Is that enough? Is that strong enough for the San Francisco Giants this year?
No.
Well, you're pretty blatant on that one. Tell me the reason why.
Well, I honestly, okay. So you had Ramos had an awesome first half of the season last year, and then he tailed off. And he's been a 9-year minor leaguer, and to come up and do what he did was awesome. But the point is, he had a great first half, 2-3 months. Now everybody's like saying, all the fans are thinking, oh, he's here, he's arrived. And the second half of the season showed he struggled, and he had a hard time adjusting. And to think that he's going to come back and be the Elliot Ramos that we saw in the first half of the year is, I'm sorry. It's kind of.
I'm going to say it's a possibility. You can't say it's not, because Elliot Ramos also learned what he had to improve on the second half of the year, too. Don't think he's not going to adjust to that. And when you start looking at the numbers declining, he made the All-Star team. He came in that second half. He, like you said, he didn't have the power numbers that he did in the first half. But I really believe, just like Elliot Ramos, you got to look at Jung-Hoo Lee, who's also really hasn't been really pushed out there. He's going to have another question mark on his back. Is he going to be able to put the kind of numbers up he had in Korea? And I also look at Mike Yastrzemski. Mike Yastrzemski getting a nice plus with the over $9 million contract. His numbers were down last year. And when you look at it, Rick, those are your starting three outfielders. And I'm with you. I got a question mark on this outfield and how consistent they can be.
Well, that's it. I mean, and Lee had injury problems. He had a torn labrum in Korea. He also had a bad knee in Korea. So he's injury. Not
separated
injury
shoulder
prone,
last year too. When you look at it, I mean that collision in the outfield was brutal.
Yeah, it's not like these guys come with like Adames, who played 155 games, or Matt Chapman. They all have red flags there, and then you look at who's behind them. I mean, Matos. Everybody's all high on Matos. The guy had 1 week last year of good hitting, and then
I'm going to go a little farther than that. He probably had 1 month there. He really did hit the ball well in May. You and I talked about this last year, Rick, when they moved him to leadoff position. He couldn't even buy a hit. I really felt bad for the kid because they put him in a position in the lineup that he couldn't sustain what he did in the middle of the order or latter part of the order. And I think this year they won't even try that with him.
Okay. All right. Well, the philosophy has changed now. Maybe the all-out, every bat, every swing, you're swinging for the fences is gone now. And maybe the ability to make more contact is being mentioned by the hitting coaches, and we're going to have more hitting and running now and more stolen bases. So maybe things will change a little bit. But, Bill, that's my point why I said I don't think this team is any better than 500 this year, is because you got Matos behind Matos or McRae. McRae strikes out 45% of the time. He struck out twice today, leading off the game. I mean, I love the kids' defense. I love the speed, but there are problems out there that, and on this one, this is the one that drives me nuts. We go out and we sign these off-injured players, expecting them to not be injured, but then if they get injured, which they do every year, what is our fallback plan? We bring up guys who aren't ready. And
right.
that's,
you got to go to your youth then, and that's where your minor leagues play a big part of it, Rick. And as you said and I both said, you have Meckler, Luciano, Matos, and that's what's the next tier of outfielders. And you're also just said what you said. You're bringing up the youth, the guys that have not played consistently at the big league level. And the game's faster. The ballparks and the outfielders are deeper. You got different routes you have to take. It's difficult for these young kids, especially when you're looking at Luciano, who's moving to the outfield. That's going to be a difficult position for him to go on road and play these outfield positions if they bring him up in that situation. But I'm right there with you, Rick. I think the 8 outfielders, they're substantial. They're average, nothing really above average. And I think that's going to be a possible downfill, a downer for the outfielders if these guys can't produce in batting averages and driving in runs. We've seen the negative side of them, and hopefully this year they'll turn it around and give it a little bit more punch. But I appreciate your points again, Rick. It's always great talking to you, and have a great Sunday. It's always great talking baseball with you, Rick.
Bill, one last thing. I wanted to bring up Bryce Eldridge. He's been an outfielder. He's been an outfielder, and I think I heard Ron Wodo say that he thought that he needed a year of first base in the minors with no pressure. Now, I don't know if I heard it, on your show or not.
Yeah, you did. You did. I heard the same thing with Ron Wotus. If they are going to potentially put him at first base every day, he has to get down at the AAA level and play first base and learn the position, make the errors, make the mental errors. But again, what he wants to do is they don't really have a designated hitter, and I think this year that's what Bryce is saying. And if I can hit the ball out of the ballpark, drive runs in, put the pressure on Bob Melvin as well as Buster Posey in possibly being that DH and learning the position at the year. But this spring training's got a long road ahead of us, and right now he's hitting the ball, but we got to see him at first base and make that judgment, Rick. And I think these are all going to be a lot of questions. That's why JT Snow's down there. Will Clark would come down there to give them a little confidence in building what we can see at Bryce Eldridge possible being at first base. But you got valid points again, Rick, and it's always great talking baseball with you. All right, let's go to Sergio in Daly City. Sergio, you're on Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Bill Lasky on a Sunday. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. First two games, Giants are playing good baseball. You know, really some good batting so far, 4 home runs. But I threw it out there on my open here. What do you think of the outfield? Do you think these 8 outfielders have enough depth to get through a 162-game season?
You know, I think the first caller said he didn't know, and I'm kind of like with him. You know, it's only a game field, a spring training, right? And things look pretty good right now. Mm-hmm. So I like to wait until the end of the spring training so I can make my judgment on, my prediction. Not judgment, prediction, I'm sorry. As to, where they're going to end up at. But like I was telling the screener that I like right now, I like the vibe.
I agree.
Having Will Clark coming over and JT Snow, I think that's going to make that's a big plus.
Well, you don't want too many voices in Bryce Eldridge's head. You got to get somebody that JT Snow, a 6-time Gold Glove winner, Will Clark, another possible Gold Glover, and you look at these guys from left-handed, and Bryce Eldridge, again, 6'7", a great frame at first base, and they're going to be teaching him everything and anything and trying to make him adjust, trying to get the mental side of the game slowed down for him. The hitting side, he's proven that he can make contact, he can power, and I just don't know if Buster Posey and Bob Melvin are ready to give him on that 25-man roster. Like you said a minute ago, they've only played 2 games. He's been hot so far, 2 for 3 with his at-bats, but we got to see what they can do on the defensive side. And you look at Lamont Wade Jr., you look at Wilmer Flores. Those are the ones that Buster Posey, he's very confident in both of them coming back from injuries last year.
Yeah, hopefully they stay healthy throughout the whole season. I mean, you're going to have injuries, whether you like it or not, but not like the extent that we had last season. But I got a feeling that Casey Smith, I think he can have a breakout year. Don't ask me why. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just think,
Sergio, last year, it really is a potential for a Casey Schmidt. And you look at Tyler Fitzgerald to play multiple infield positions.
Yes.
And Casey Schmidt playing third base. He played some shortstop last year. They're mixing him at second base. That's a great addition to a roster, especially when you can fit him in any position on the infield. When you look at Tyler Fitzgerald, he's going to move over to second base. Of course, he was a center fielder, most of the outfield. So both of those guys really are fighting for the position. But I'm going to throw you another name, Sergio, Brett Wisely. Here's a guy last year that really Bob Melvin fell in love with, and he played very well for him at second base. And don't you think right now, this guy 2 for 3 yesterday, 1 for 2 today, he can make contact at the bottom of the order.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Like I said, I like the vibe, and like I said, man, you throw guys like this and having Willie Adames to the lineup, and having Matt Chapman, and then you have the veterans, right? And then you throw in
that's
Clark,
be the
Clark
big
and
thing. Yep. Let me ask you something, Sergio. When you saw the signing for Willie Adames, excited for that? 7 years, $185 million. I was pretty excited myself too.
Yeah, definitely. Something positive, and like I was telling the guy taking the calls. I went to 15 games last year, Bill, and guess how many wins? 1 win. No, so driving from late up, just 1 freaking win in May, and that's it. the rest of the
Well,
year.
you're going to have to change your luck this year, Sergio. You're going to have to flip that around.
Like I said, man, I like the vibe. I like the direction where the team's going right now, especially having Posey, taking charge. So
I totally agree with you.
Yeah,
I think
but,
there's a different vibe in that locker room. You hear a lot of the coaches talking about it already. I have Alex Berg coming up today later on. He's the catching coach, just talking about, when you talk about Patrick Bailey and what he brings to that lineup as a hitter, but what he brings as a Gold Glove winner now behind the plate. How do you like him for the 2025 season?
As long as they stay healthy and he doesn't burn out, like I said, I want to start the season on a good positive attitude, and hopefully they come back to the bigs healthy and have a good season. I want to think positive.
Let's hope so, Sergio. A good start so far, 2-0 in the Cactus League. Again, tomorrow we're going to see Justin Verlander on the hill. That'll be an exciting point for the San Francisco Giants. But I appreciate your time today, Sergio. Once again, great call.
All right, Bill. Take care.
All right, thank you. And I think Sergio brings up a big point. And listening to Bob Melvin doing some pre-games and post-game reports, he feels the clubhouse is getting better and the leadership roles from a Logan Webb, a Matt Chapman. He really felt Willie Adames coming over here in the month of January, starting to work out at Papago and working out with some of the younger players. You talk about Justin Verlander. He's getting that start tomorrow. He's in the bullpens working with pitchers. These are things that build chemistry. These are things that make the walls stronger. Younger players and pitchers listen to these guys and they drive off of them. And when they make a mistake, there's no question you're going to have them sit next to them and explaining the whys. And I think that's what we're going to see, just like today. Hayden Birdsong balking a run in. Why did you do it? Why did you step off and not throw? Things like that, as a young player or a pitcher, they need to know that. They just can't go out there with the thought of, hey, I'm going to do this, and all of a sudden, whammo, the pressure, the panic comes in, and what happens? He balks in. All right, 808 KNBR, got a couple more calls on hold. Please give me a call. Let's talk some Giants baseball. Later on, Alex Berg joins me. Of course, he's the catching coach, working with all the catchers. Reggie Smith, a 17-year Major League Baseball player, will also join me later in the show. I'm Bill Lasky. This is Extra Innings. More coming up right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
From the mound to the mic, this is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Lasky.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him by saying to your smart speaker, play KNBR.
Hulking figure on the mound, delivers. Swing, line drive, base hit, left center. Matos had started back to second base. Now he's going to be waved in by Matt Williams. Here comes a throw into second base by the left fielder Rodriguez. Too late. It's a double for Encarnacion. And Matos scores.
All right, welcome back to the Extra Inning postgame show. And the Giants in front of 8,196 fans at beautiful Scottsdale Stadium get their second win of the season. They're 2-0. Of course, yesterday they beat the Texas Rangers 6-1 in surprise. Today, the home opener, and the fans were out there cheering the orange and black on. Of course, the pitching staff between Logan Webb, Hayden Birdsong, Camilo Duvall really had a nice 1-2-3 inning. Sean Jelly really working on a lot of off-speed pitches and knuckle curveball. Had a nice 1-2-3 inning, 3 punch-outs. And again, a couple of youngsters. Juan Mercedes threw 2 innings. He ended up going 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 1 strikeouts. And then a 32-year-old left-hander who spent some time with the Tigers last year, Miguel Del Pozo, threw 1 inning, giving up 1 hit and 1 strikeout. So you look at the 6 pitchers, 5 right-handers, 1 left-hander. They limited the Cincinnati Reds to 2 runs on 6 hits. It went well. 10 strikeouts, 1 walk. As I said in the open, JT Martinez has got to be happy for what the Giants have been doing so far in the first 2 games on the mound. Tomorrow, Justin Verlander in a split squad will be facing the Colorado Rockies at Scottsdale Stadium. Ryan Walker follows him up, and then Randy Rodriguez. Those are the 3 pitchers that are on slate for tomorrow. In Tempe against the Angels, Mason Black. Of course, we saw Mason Black up and down last year with AAA, and he also started. Carson Seymour and Trevor McDonald will be on slate for the split squad with the Giants. On Tuesday, the next telecast, or I should say the broadcast on KNBR, it'll be against the A's in Mesa, and Robbie Ray gets a start. Looking forward to see how Robbie Ray throws. He's been throwing the ball extremely well in spring. Keaton Wynn behind him. Tristan Beck gets back on the hill, and Joel Peguero follows that up. And then after that, we're going to see Jordan Hicks on Wednesday, and your starting staff is all going to get out there. Kyle Harrison's been pushed back a little bit. He's been throwing the ball well, and we'll see Kyle Harrison back on the hill probably next weekend. 808 KNBR if you want to get on the phone lines. Let's go out to Berkeley and talk to Andrea. Andrea, how are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, another win. I really liked what I saw in the pitching staff. And, of course, another home run. That's 4 home runs the Giants have hit. Patrick Bailey hit a screamer out to right field for a nice solo home run. A lot of good stuff. As one of the callers said, I think it was Sergio. It's a good start for the San Francisco Giants. I think the building of the veterans as well as the young players, I think that's a confidence booster. And what can you say? It's spring training, but 2-0 for the San Francisco Giants so far.
Yeah, so far so good. And I really, it's like we have 2 pitching coaches with Verlander there. And Birdsong, he's a fellow Virgo, August 30th, 2001. And Virgos are very much about teaching and learning and being mentored, very humble, always eager to learn. And he said that actually Verlander gave him some tips about what side of the pitching rubber to be on, and he took it under advisement, and he did really well today. So Birdsong was singing his praises, literally, about how much Verlander is helping. And I'm looking forward to, seeing Verlander pitch tomorrow. Don't get me wrong, but I really like the idea of, like, an extra pitching coach there helping and mentoring the younger
and you're
pitchers.
looking at a 42-year-old that's won 3 Cy Youngs, and the experience that he brings, and watching so many pitchers in his career, a Hall of Famer, no doubt. And you start listening to veteran leadership like that, and you try it. Why not try it? He's not going to try to make you worse. He's trying to make you better. And if you try different things, something might click, Andrea. And you know what? Birdsong heard it, and he tried it. And I think it worked because he was real happy after he made that adjustment in the bullpen.
Yes, and he did really well today. He's battling for the fifth place in the rotation, I think, versus Kyle Harrison. So I just really like that mentorship. It's really going well and very much needed and appreciated. So
yeah,
I think
agree
that
with
was
you.
great.
And, Bob Melvin's another one that said, when you're looking at Verlander coming out watching these kids throw in the bullpen or going out in front of the net at Scottsdale Stadium and watching them throw live BP and making adjustments, he said he doesn't have to do that. He said all these older players can just walk out the door. They get their work in. But when you see a new player like Justin Verlander staying and listening and working, and it doesn't matter if it's Logan Webb or Hayden Birdsong, he's giving you advice from a more of a veteran leadership, like you said, another pitching coach that's been out there for thousands of innings, and he's kind of telling you, try this, try that. Just like I said, if you try it, something might click. And today, boy, Hayden Birdsong, 3 punch-outs in a row in that second inning, he performed.
Yes, I saw that sports segment yesterday, and Bob Melvin said, after a pitcher throws a bullpen, they usually just go and do arm self-care, and wait, what? There's Justin Verlander hanging out in the bullpen and, taking the pitchers under his wing and his advisement. So I really think, when they go above and beyond their role, I think it's a really nice statement for the team.
And you know what else, Andrea? I like what Buster Posey's doing and bringing some of these elite players into a special guest. JT Snow's there. Of course, Santiago Casillas there. Petit's there. Hackman Leonard's there. They're a mixture of older players, yet younger players that still can talk to these players. Petit was talking to Duvall during his sides. And you know what? You get a Latin player and a Latin pitcher talking Spanish, and they're talking to make that confidence build for Duvall. Last year, he fell off the hill. He didn't know how to get back on the horse and ride. He struggled with walks. He struggled maintaining that confidence. And that's what I love what Buster's doing, bringing some of these guys that have had good confidence, had good careers, came into some big, strong games for the Orange and Black and performed well. When you hear that from those guys and you're sitting next to them from a pitcher to a pitcher, it does mean more.
Yes. And this is just perfect timing, to have a mentor, and this will be all season long, and to just, have that been there, done that energy, and it's like getting wisdom from a sage.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Well, Andrea, thanks for the call today. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and baseball's upon us, and another great conversation with you. I appreciate your time today.
Yes, thanks so much, Bill. Take good care.
Yeah, and just talking about the mentorship of older players and some of the things they do. And when you look at Will Clark, you look at JT Snow, some fabulous glove guys. And it's not just Bryce Eldridge, it's also Wade Jr., it's also Wilmer Flores. We talk about Ron Wodos. I've talked to him through the winter, and some of the things that he has done in mentoring players at the AAA level, AA level, moving up and down, watching players and watching them build their confidence and understanding the pluses and minuses of positions and understanding what they have to do mentally to prepare for when the ball is hit to them. What do I do? Where do I go? Certain defensive plays, certain defensive picks. These are all things, and we look at not just Bryce Eldridge, we got to look at Tyler Fitzgerald, Casey Schmidt. They're also playing second base this year. They don't have that much experience at second base, but they're going to learn how to play that position because now you have Willie Adames at shortstop. He's got to get comfortable with that second baseman. There has to be comfortable reasons. Where do you want the ball? What side of the bag do you go to? Where do you throw the ball once it's here? As well as communicating with balls up the middle, communicating with balls that are shallow in the outfield. Brett Wisely made a nice play today going down a right field line before Flores and Yaz got there, and he kind of went in between them and caught the ball. These are all things that you break in spring training, and you do. There's so many drills that you have done in the morning time. Tyler Rogers yesterday was talking about how he improves his defense. At 9 a.m. in the morning, catching ground balls. At 9 a.m., covering first base. At 9 a.m., throwing the ball to second base. That's how you improve. Those are all mindsets. Those are things that you do in spring training that you get to be the confident player that you are on the field. That's what spring training does, and that's what these spring training games do. So you know what? It's a good positive point being 2-0. It's a good momentum builder. I'm sure Bob Melvin's pretty happy in what he has seen so far, and you got guys that are competing for a job. When you look at Jeff Lamb, a player that's trying to make it off the bench as a pinch hitter, maybe even as a first baseman, he messed the ball up today, no doubt. He was trying to go after a ball at first base. The ball kind of carried on him. He's probably upset at it because a lot of those things get magnified. But at the same time, he's a veteran player. He understands he's going to get another opportunity. When you look at the younger players, they panic. They go home and they're looking at the ceiling, looking at every little drop on the ceiling wall because they don't want to make a mistake. They want to be perfect. But that's not what Bob Melvin wants. He wants the players to make the adjustments, to understand if I strike out now, what am I going to do the next at bat? If a pitcher gives up a home run, where's my next pitch going to be? Adjustments at the major league level go quick. The game is so much faster. We all know it. We watch it. I pitched in it. So many players have done it. But it's slowing the heartbeat down, slowing the pace of the game down to understand what's next. Those are all key points in spring training. And Bob Melvin being a veteran manager with Matt Williams and his coaching staff there, they understand what young players have to do to make it better. And they have to understand what young players have to do to adjust. So far, it's doing real well in the 2-0 start. And we're going to continue to keep cracking the whip here and watching these games to see what players do right and what players do wrong and how they can manage to make that adjustment. That's what baseball is all about. It doesn't matter what level you're at high school, college, even the Little League. You make adjustments, and that's how you grow the game of baseball. That's how you get better as a pitcher, a player, a manager even. Most likely Bob Melvin's made some mistakes, and he understands it. All right, coming up next, I had a nice sit-down conversation with Alex Berg. Of course, Alex Berg is the catching coach for the San Francisco Giants. We talk a lot about blocking balls, pitch selection, so much to do as a catching coach, and there's a lot of catchers right now trying to fulfill that backup role. With Murphy injured, you also have Huff, you also have Max Stassi, and we're going to see what's going to happen in the backup role, being that backup catcher. I'm Bill Lasky. This is Extra Innings. Coming up next, I sit down with Alex Berg, and we talk catching right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Lasky.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Lasky. I'm honored to have my guest on today. 2021, he joined the Giants as a coach. In the last few years, he's been specifically the Giants catching coach. Let's bring in Alex Berg. Alex, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, appreciate it. And let's just get into specifics. A catching coach. Of course, last year, Patrick Bailey wins his first Gold Glove. You pumped your chest out a little bit when you heard about that?
Yeah, it was exciting. I think he was a little disappointed he didn't win it the year before, but I think it fueled him to really take another step defensively, and it was pretty awesome to watch. He's an extremely talented defender.
Well, the skill set on Patrick Bailey, pitchers love to throw him. The knowledge of the game, of course, framing of the pitches. What are some of the things, the aspects of some of the things that Patrick Bailey works on daily?
A lot of it's a straight routine of getting the glove in the correct position to make all the moves, and he's one of the best throwers in the league, if not the best. It's one of the quickest pop times in the league, so work on transfers, getting his footwork right, and then he actually improved massively as a blocker. So blocking is just kind of a will and a want, and he wanted to be better at it, turned himself into a good blocker, and we're kind of looking forward to taking some steps in that area this year and just kind of overall improvement. But it's more of just every day doing the same things and not really trying to reinvent the wheel, just be really good at what you're good at.
Well, Alex, Giants fans don't know all the preliminaries before the game, all the work that you do with your catchers, and you're talking about blocking drills. Of course, as an ex-pitcher, I know exactly what you're talking about. Tell the fans a little bit about what does that do for the catcher.
It gives the pitcher confidence. If he knows that when he throws a ball in the dirt, Pat's going to stop it, you feel good about throwing that pitch, and that's what we want. We want our pitcher to have the most confidence in the world to get this guy out. He knows that if his slider is his best pitch, he knows he can bury it on the back of the plate for a swing and miss, and it's going to stay right there. And that's the biggest thing we want as catchers. We just want to instill confidence in our pitcher that he can throw anything, and we have it. It'll be right here, and we will be good.
Well, Alex, the backup job is open right now. Tom Murphy's injured a little bit. Of course, you have the veteran Max Stassi's and non-roster, and of course Sam Huff coming over from the Rangers. Tell us a little bit about these three guys, and what have you seen so far?
It's exciting. It's a really good group. It's fun to watch. They're all extremely gifted defensively, and obviously Tom and Max have had extremely good careers. You're looking at Max, I think, is at 8 years of service time. Tom's at 7. These guys have been tremendous. And Sam Huff's a young kid, extremely talented, came over from the Rangers. It's King Kong pop with some arm strength. And then we also have a guy named Logan Porter here in camp who was with us for a couple weeks last year, but he's made some massive steps forward defensively, and he's another guy we're super excited about. And I couldn't be happier with the catching group we have in spring training, and they work really well together, and they're having a bunch of fun together. So this has just been an excellent camp so far.
Alex Burr, the Giants catching coach, joining me on Extra Innings postgame show. Let's go back in time with you. You grew up in Seattle. You went to Mount Rainier High School, and then you ended up going to Clemson and then coming back to Washington State. Tell us a little bit about amateur baseball growing up as well as your college time.
Grew up in Seattle and kind of a little bit of a suburb south, and obviously was a pretty good high school player. Clemson was like the place I wanted to go. They were number one in the country at that point, and just a historic program. Khalil Green was coming out of there, Chris Benson. So some of these guys where you've seen them on TV in the College World Series, they always had the sharp-looking white pants, and it was somewhere where I wanted to go. And after 2 years, it was the last year for a free D1 to D1 transfer, and I just wasn't going to play. And it was going. I knew I wanted to get to pro ball. So going it's like, if you're not going to play as a junior now, you're really banking on one good year. And so it just made sense. It was the right time. The guy that recruited me was Kevin O'Sullivan. He ended up going to Florida to take the head job there, and he's absolutely killed it there. But so it just kind of everything worked out, and ended up transferring to Washington State, where it was Donnie Marvitt and Travis Jewett, who I'd actually grown up with. I'd known both of those coaches since I was 10 years old. So it just felt really comfortable. It felt easy transition. You're a little bit closer to home, and I knew I was going to have guys that were going to push me to be better. And it was a great move for me. I think it was probably one of the more beneficial moves of my career.
Well, it definitely worked out. You got drafted in 2009 by the San Francisco Giants. You ended up playing 7 years in minor league baseball, but you ended up opening that door for professional baseball. How did you end up being a coach, and who opened the doors for that?
I mean, I think you play enough, and I have a ton of people to credit for this, but in every off season, I would actually go back and I would work as a hitting coach, and I would do lessons at home at the same facility that I grew up playing in. So Aaron Horrocks, he was great. He helped me out, threw some money in my pocket, and allowed me to work and kind of started me on that coaching career. And then Josh Boyd was a good friend of mine. He's the assistant GM with the Texas Rangers. We had a conversation after my year in 2018, and they had just fired Jeff Bannister, and I was coming off a year with the Dodgers, and we were talking about just certain ways that I could maybe move into it, like still wanted to play, but like here's what I could do and here's how I could like help out a major league team. I actually signed to play with the Padres one more year, and then the Rangers called me and offered me the run production coordinator job, which is like I dealt with all the scouting reports on the offensive side, and also worked in the cage, throwing, hitting, or throwing BP, flipping to these guys, and essentially just an assistant hitting coach in charge of game planning. So it was, kind of those two, and then obviously Chris Woodward for kind of taking a shot on me as a guy that never coached before and just coming off of a playing career, and him just allowing me to be in that space. And then also Louis Ortiz, who was our hitting coach, vouching for me as well to be able to like put me into the big leagues without ever being in the big leagues was pretty huge. And I think those definitely a credit to all those people. And it's been a crazy little journey so far.
Boy, I tell you what, it's a nice run, though, but you opened up a lot of doors by your work ethic, a lot of the knowledge of the game. I read a lot of good things about you through the Giants, and, it's just a congratulations to continue to keep working and striving to do what you want to do, and here you are in the big leagues working with some great catchers.
Yeah, it's been super. It's been awesome. I think we had Craig Albanese here doing the job before me, and he's an unbelievable mentor. It's so great to be able to spend 2 years, and honestly, I wouldn't be anywhere near the coach I am without him, and all the help that he had for me, and all the advice, and all the just the life every day with him was such a helpful thing to transitioning from the hitting side to the catching side. And I wouldn't be here without him. So.
Well, let's talk about something that happened last year, Alex. Of course, the Giants tried to choreograph LED lights, and of course, Camilo Duvall's warming up. You're throwing to him, and he's ready to go in the game. All of a sudden, it blacked out. The total stadium blacks out, and they wanted to do the spotlight, but everybody forgot Camilo was still throwing, and sure enough, he's dropping a 90-mile-an-hour fastball at you, and all the lights go out. What was the first thing you thought of, and how fast did that heartbeat go?
Honestly, so those last 2-3 throws that he makes, it's pretty much game speed. So he's like probably 97 to 100 in those last three, and it's kind of like his little like ramp up as he goes into the game. And he takes a little bit longer than most, and so he lifts a leg and he's ripping forward, and all of a sudden like he lets it go, and the lights go out. And honestly, if it would have been any pitch but a four-seam fastball, like I probably would have died. But it was true out of his hand. He throws a bunch of strikes in the bullpen. We really have no issues with him. So it was like it was a perfect strikes right down the middle. smoked me right in the sweet spot. So it was terrifying, but hysterical once you figure out that you're alive. And it's
Well, the
okay.
aftermath of everything on X and Instagram was, is he okay? Are you alive? And of course you came out, I'm good, everything's fine, I caught it.
Yes, it was terrifying, but again, it's kind of like anything where if you don't die, it's a great story.
Alex Berg on with Extra Innings post-game show for a couple more minutes. Let's get back into the catching role, the one knee instead of the crouch. I have to ask you, what's the benefit and what are some of the drawbacks that you see as a catching coach?
I think the benefit is your body. Like, you feel great. I think you look at Max Stassi, he had a resurfaced hip. You look at all these old catchers that kind of walk around that have been in the crouch for X amount of years. You can't move. And the one knee just takes so much stress off the body. It allows you to catch more. It allows you to work harder. It allows you to do more practice things. And it just gives you, gives you some freedom to hit too, because your legs aren't always so beat up. Some of the drawbacks are there's a little bit of a limit to the range that you're going to have. And again, youth baseball, the guys throwing it everywhere, there's definitely a bigger drawback than in the major leagues. In the major leagues, these guys are so good. They're so good. And they throw the ball to you. They hit a ton of spots. They do a really good job. And it's just something that I think, for me, in the big leagues, there's no drawback. You look at all the best guys in the big leagues are catching that way. The guys that are the best at all three facets, which are receiving, blocking, and catching, the guys that are the best in all three, not just one of the three, they're all doing it off one knee. And
Alex, framing is so important. Pitchers love it, of course, stealing a strike here and there off the corner or elevating a fastball. Any type of thing with a breaking ball, the confidence from a pitcher to have that. And we know Patrick Bailey is one of the best. How do you teach that? And what are some of the things that you make it a point for a catcher to stick that ball?
We try to get timing. So we want to feel like we're catching the ball on the way up. So if you're kind of picturing like an arc, we want to catch it in the middle to even like a touchback of middle, and then we want to work that thing up so that the speed takes us to the stopping point, which is usually about, for him, it's the Nike check on the middle of his chest protector. Mm-hmm. And so if we can do that, that's kind of all we work on. We overtrain, we do a bunch of high speed stuff and targeting, and we do a lot of different things. And to be really honest, he's just really talented. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of times it comes down to that, where he's literally just better than 99% of the world at catching the ball. And it's, the hand strength, the hand speed, the guy's like literally just built to be a catcher. It's pretty impressive.
Alex, what a pleasure to catch up with you today. Good luck with the rest of spring training, and we'll definitely looking for that battle with the next three guys trying to fulfill that backup role to Patrick Bailey.
Excellent, Bill. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Alex Berg on Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Lasky keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. Strike three called. And Wins was like, wait a minute, that pitch was in the dirt. So the slider gets him looking.
All right, welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show. Alex Bird, great interview right there about catching and some of the things they work on in framing to the one knee, blocking balls. And Patrick Bailey has gotten better each year, and we just love watching him steal strikes. And this is a great interview, and like I said yesterday, and if you didn't hear me, I'm trying to bring different voices and different knowledge of the game with some new coaches as well as players. And I introduced Sam Huff yesterday. Today was Alex Berg. And when you start talking about baseball and you start talking about the veteran leadership, we talked about it earlier, and we look at Camilo Duvall coming off a season last year where it just didn't work well for him. 62 games pitched, 78 strikeouts was fine, but you also had 39 walks. And when you look at walks and hits, boy, oh boy, it's just not working out for Camilo Duvall. 27 years old, and today John Miller and Dwayne were talking about it when Buster Posey was getting phone calls about the possibility of grabbing a Camilo Duvall. And Buster put both hands up. No. Last year was okay. He struggled. Yeah, the mindset, the body language, different things that you see as fans and as you see from the front office and coaching staffs. It talks about confidence. 2023, boy, his chest was out every time. He was an all-star. Had one of the greatest years he could do. Last year it just didn't work. Lost his closing role. Ended up going to AAA. And this year, as I said earlier in the show, I love what Buster has. Petit coming in, Casilla, Santiago coming in. These are guys that are Latin players. They can talk to him about the highs and the lows. It's so important that players, especially young players, he's only 27 years old, understand hurdles are always in front of you. It's not 1, 2, 3 every time out there. It's not the great slider every time I go out of the bullpen. It's not that hard 98-mile-an-hour fastball. Your arm goes ups and downs. You have a dead arm syndrome. Sometimes you just can't locate, but it's about adjustments, and I think that's what Camilo is going to have to do this year. I talk about walks, and his Giants pitchers so far have walked 2 hitters in 18 innings, and that's a big plus. I love what J.B. Martinez is doing. I love what Garvin Alston's doing. Strike one. Bury that first strike. Tyler Rogers yesterday in my interview, strike one. He was talking about J.P. Martinez talking about the first down of a football team. Get that first down. Get that first strike. It's real important that Camilo Duvall wakes up and does this. Today, nice 1-2-3 inning. Punched out the first guy and really came back and had 2 quick outs. And I think that's what we want to see. Where does he fit in the bullpen? We don't know right now. I think Walker right now is probably going to be your closer. But, boy, you get Camilo Duvall throwing that 6th, 7th, 8th inning as a setup role, whew, that's some electricity coming out of the bullpen. Susan Slusher just tweeted out the starting lineups tomorrow. If you're in Scottsdale, you're going to see one starting lineup. That's pretty close to the starting lineup already, and we're already talking about March. When you look at Lamont Wade Jr., he'll be leading off playing first base. Willie Adames will be playing shortstop for the first time. Jung Ho Liu will be out in center field batting third. Matt Chapman will get his first crack at the Cactus League. He'll be playing third base. Wilmer Flores will be DHing for the Giants in Scottsdale. Casey Schmidt will be playing second base. Luis Matos will be in right field. Wade Meckler is going to get a start in left field. And Max Stassi, backup catcher. Of course, we've talked about him in the last couple of days, coming in from Yuba City, and he's going to get a start with Justin Verlander. So that's what you're going to see in Scottsdale. Now, if you're going to travel over to see the Angels in Tempe, Grant McCrae will be starting in center field. Luciano will be in left field. Yastrzemski will be in right field. Encarnacion's going to play some first base tomorrow. Patrick Bailey will be DHing for the Giants in Tempe. Sam Huff will be behind the plate. Lamb will be playing some third base tomorrow. Wisely right back out there. He's having a great 2 games so far at second base. And Basabe will be starting at shortstop. And Mason Black will get to start tomorrow in the split squad for the San Francisco Giants. Coming up next, I talked to a good friend of mine, Reggie Smith. Of course, he played with the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Cardinals, and he played 1 year with the Giants. And why I bring Reggie in here, Reggie and I used to have a great conversation. When I was a starting pitcher in 1982, he didn't start all the time, but he taught me about hitting and what a pitcher had to do in adjustments, what he saw in certain hitters, where the front shoulder opened up, where the power hit was. He was an encyclopedia for me. And we've talked many, many times, and he's a great hitting coach. And I wanted to reach out to him, 17 years in Major League Baseball, 13 of them in the outfield, and he was a Gold Glove outfielder. Then he had to move to first base. The speed wasn't there, the agility wasn't there, and what he had to learn at first base, like we're talking with Bryce Eldridge. So I had to sit down with him about spring training, why hitters are behind pitchers in the beginning, but in the long run, we talk about adjustments of playing first base. Coming up next, Reggie Smith and I get into a nice conversation of baseball and spring training. That's coming up right here on Extra Innings on KNBR, the sports leader.
Bill is back.
Fired up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Lasky.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Lasky. My guest today played 17 years in Major League Baseball, Boston Red Sox, St. Louis Cardinals, the Los Angeles Dodgers, and finishing out his career with the San Francisco Giants. In those 17 years, he was a 7-time All-Star, a World Series champion with the Dodgers in 1981, a Gold Glove winner in the outfield with the Boston Red Sox, and with that honor, he is in the Boston Red Sox Hall of Fame. Let's welcome in Reggie Smith. Reggie, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Bill?
I'm doing good. Thanks for joining me. Well, spring training is right on the corner. The pitchers and catchers are here. 2025 baseball season is upon us. And I'd like to ask you, as a veteran of 17 years, what were some of the preparations that you tried to get together when you walked into a locker room, as well as the anxiety, as well as the anxiousness, the excitement? All these things are all pretty much bottled up. How did you approach a spring training each year?
I approached the training as a preparation to win enough games in the season to get into the playoffs and ultimately win a World Series. As far as the conditioning and everything was concerned, I did most of that in preparation before I got into spring training. Like I said, I wanted to be ready as far as physically to be able to execute my mindset, and that mindset was again, preparing to win in a World Series.
Reggie, you always talk about pitchers being ahead of hitters when you go into spring training. Now, we had different options back when we played. Some of us worked in the winter. Now these guys prepare all year long. There's so many things you can do in a batting cage, from a pitching machine to different drills. But what is it with hitting that hitters have to be ready for the approach, especially early in spring, as well as, like you talked about, the 162-game season? What are some of the mindsets and some of the conditioning you did?
Well, obviously, the thing with pitchers being ahead of hitters at that time is that depending on what part of the country you live in, it was difficult to see live arm pitching. And what that is, it requires you to get that kind of timing. Again, seeing the ball out of the pitcher's hand and developing the timing to be able to get the barrel of the bat to the right place in space. So that takes time. The thing that during the off season, though, being able to swing a heavy bat, getting ready, making sure my hands were ready, because that's one of the first things that you lose when you've taken time off. You lose that hand strength and the feel of that bat, the weight of the bat, the whole thing in your hand. So in